This is Alex, and this is What Would You Do? Part 3. Glove box. The varnish on the glove box has all peeled off. It looks horrible. I can't wait to strip the old varnish off of this and see what the grain's like underneath. And then varnish it like I did my side pieces. Hopefully it matches. It'd be really awkward if it looks odd. Yeah, it's like a nasty scratch in the varnish. Yeah, it looks pretty poor, but I've stripped it all down, and I didn't film me stripping it down because I just didn't think about it. Sorry. So I've unscrewed the lock, the catch, and taken it off of the hinges, but I didn't remove the hinges. I didn't see any point in that. We're not varnishing the back and it doesn't interfere with our face. I'll just mask those up when I come to spraying it. And then I've also unscrewed all the edgings. See, all the edges have chrome on, and they're all all held in with little tiny screws, and I've removed all the screws. I tell you what, I'll show you the little parts bin of all the bits I undid, and I should have filmed it, but maybe I'll film myself trying to put it all back together when it's done and not damaging the varnish. So this is my little pot of all the pieces I took out. The lock, all the little side pieces. Here's all the little screws, tiny little screws, and more importantly, the vinyl. I don't know if this would have been covered in leather in the past, but this one's got vinyl on it. So I'm going to get some red vinyl to match my door cards and recover it, and I'm just going to use this piece as a template. So I know what pieces to cut out. And it's getting dark and I'm out here scraping, but this varnish is being very stubborn. It does not want to move with just using the blade technique like used in video 1. When I was doing the side pieces of the dashboard, the varnish on that came off very easily. This is not budging, and I've tried a couple of different types of blade, new, and it's just not budging, that varnish. Yeah, it is well and truly stuck on there. So I'm going to use another method, and I'll cut to that when I've worked out what I'm doing. Gutted. So, I don't know what time it is. 9:15 at night. I've given up scraping. It didn't get the varnish off. So I'm going to try chemicals. I don't like using them, but I'm going to try Nitromorse because that's what I've got in my garage. I did use this to strip some paint off the tiles in the bathroom, and it was a bit rubbish, but the paint was like 50 years old, although this varnish could be 60 years old. So it says on the tin, whether it works or not, is we've got to put a thick coat of this goo on using a dabbing action, and then leave it for 5 or 10 minutes so it blisters, so it looks all wrinkly, and then apply a second coat working into the blisters, and then after 40 minutes remove the blisters and the softened paint or varnish, with a shaving hook or scraper, so I'll just use my blade again. Repeat process if necessary. Remove traces of stubborn paint with wire wool dipped in nitromorse. Now I would wear gloves doing this, just to be sure. If you're going to do the wire wool. For this dabbing here, I'm not going to use gloves. I don't need gloves. And just do it in a well ventilated area, because this stuff can be quite strong. It could knock you on the feet, really. So I'm going to do one little dab to show you. So we're just going to dab on a thick coat like that. I'm going to avoid the bits of bare wood. I don't need to put it on that. And we'll see how it goes. So it's the next day on the glove box, and it's daylight, which it certainly wasn't last night. I actually scraped the nitromorse off at 10 o'clock at night in the pitch black outside my front door. But it didn't all come off. But the varnish now is very brittle, and it seems to be coming off with the blade. So I'll just show you what it looks like and what I'm about to do. So here's the glove box. This is the side, if you remember, that was peeled off anyway. All this is varnish free actually, and that will need sanding, but anything here that's a bit rough, that is coming off with a blade. But I've got to be a bit rougher with this, because this is actually a big lump of wood, not just veneer, so I can be a bit rougher. I could get a sanding machine on it to sand all this varnish off, but I'm going to sit here with a blade, and I'm just going to hold the blade very straight and just back and forth, scrape, 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 and get as much off as we can with the blade. And then I'll go on to sanding, I believe. Got a turbo engaged. I got bored of scraping with a blade. I've still got loads to scrape, but it's putting up quite a fight. So I thought I'd just get sandpaper out and give it a go. Now this is the finish we're looking for. This nice, smooth, light colour compared to the rest. You know, this is bare wood. Bare wood. There's dark bits here. I'd like to get rid of those. There's sunken bits of varnish, I guess. Looks like there's a bit of a split there, but it's not flexing, so maybe it's just part of the grain. So I just got my 320 grit again, and I'm doing circular motions, because I think that's quite pleasant. You could go up and down, up and down, up and down, but I'll just do circular, and try not to drop it on the floor. It's a messy job, and you could probably do it with an electric sanding machine, you know, like an orbital sander. But I like doing it by hand. You get a good feel for it. Be interesting to see what this comes out like with the varnish on. I'll carry on. I'm getting covered in shit. Well, this whole wood thing is a learning curve for me, as well as you, perhaps, if you're watching. So I just want to show you what not to do, which is what I did. So I'm scraping away, so I'm keeping my blade straight, and I'm either doing this or I'm doing left and right, which is fine, no problem. And then after I've done that, I've sanded, which is nice. Now, there was a really thick piece of varnish here. Not here, it was over there. But let's just use this as an example. And it was not budging with the blade. So I thought, I know, I'll stick the blade underneath and try and lift the varnish up. Don't do that, because this happens I've lifted the wood up. Look at this. The blade's just gone straight under and lifted the actual wood up. So I'm hoping what I'll do is I'll slip a little bit of super glue or something underneath to sort of stick it down, make sure it's stuck down, and then varnish over the top of it, and hopefully it won't show too much. There's not a lot else I can do really from what I've been told. There's not really anything else you can do but just stick it down and varnish it, and hopefully I won't notice it too much. But yeah, don't do that. Don't try and scrape it like that. Keep the blade straight. Definitely keep the blade straight. This is all experience. It's time consuming. I'm getting covered in crap. It's not as easy as some of the other bits on the car. But persevere, my friend. Persevere. The two-handed technique is also good for stubborn varnish. So I put my thumbs like that. I just push down really hard, and as long as that blade's straight, get any stubborn bits off. Ooh, excessive scraping. Anyway, we're nearly done. The scraping. Oh, I've glued that. My friends who restores clocks, he said use a bit of super glue. So I got a hat pin, put some glue on the pin, put it between the layers, and then sort of used it as a little roller to keep these two pieces together so it's not loose. And he said hopefully with a few coats of varnish that might disappear. Fingers crossed.